Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and in case you were still confused on what the fuck this channel is, here's another vinyl video. Yup, haven't posted in a couple of months, and now I'm back with another one of these. You're welcome. But anyways, I wanted to do another one of these videos because I really enjoyed doing the last one, and I got a ton of new records since the last video, so we're going to go through them today. I'm going to talk a little bit about each of them, and if you want me to do another one of these, leave a like. I'm probably going to do another one of these regardless, but without further ado, let's get into these records. So the first two records that we have to start off the video today are both from the same band, my favorite band, 21 Pilots, and they are Vessel and Blurryface. You may have remembered that I mentioned Blurryface in my last record video, and that's because I mentioned that I had given it to my friend for her birthday, but I recently picked up another copy, so here it is. I really love the art on this one. Obviously, it's one of my favorite records of all time, this being one of my favorite bands, so I'm a little bit biased, but some of the best tracks on here are Heavy Dirty Soul. Ride is actually my favorite song of all time, and Not Today. All these songs, I love all these songs, obviously, because they're my favorite band, but here it is. I love the art on this record. We're gonna open up and see the inside here. They have lots of words. They have like a thank you here to all the fans, and just like all their thank yous to their family and stuff like that. A bunch of credits over here. And also what's really cool about this record in particular is that this album art here, it actually slides out. It has this transparent paper right here. That's pretty freaky. And as you can see, the designs are still there, but that actually comes out as well. And check that out. That's pretty sweet. But regardless, on the other side we have a bunch of lyrics here, and yeah, I just really love the art of this record, and it's blank here, as you can see. I'm always afraid I'm gonna put in the art backwards when I slip all this stuff back in here, so sometimes I have to reference the actual cover of the album online to make sure I'm doing it right. There it is. That's Blurryface, obviously one of my favorite records of all time. And Vessel, a lot of people say this is their favorite 21 Pilots record. Not my favorite, actually my least favorite, but I still love the shit out of this album. It's so great. Awesome album artwork on the back with their skeleton hoodies and their grandfathers. Obviously the material on this album and every 21 Pilots album is super deep. Not a lot of artwork though on this one, and that's to be expected because this was when they were a new band and probably didn't have all the production value or the money to get a bunch of artwork, but a bunch of cool pictures from like tour and just from their lives on that one. And obviously a great record, I can't lie. Love this record. The next one we got is a very iconic piece of album art, and it is Tame Impala's Currents. Obviously, I freaking love this record. Great, amazing piece of electronic music. Honestly, it crosses a bunch of different genres. It's like psychedelic pop, it's like super atmospheric, but obviously this album art is super iconic. I know I'm basic, but my favorite song on this album is The Less I Know The Better, tied with like Let It Happen. That song is amazing too, but this album is a trip the whole way through. I definitely recommend it if you like psychedelic music. And look at that rainbow artwork in the middle. I thought that was pretty cool. And this record sounds incredible on vinyl when I'm spinning it, especially since this record and like most of Tame Impala's music is known for its production, so especially this record in particular, it sounds freaking amazing when you're spinning it. And the next album we have is the second piece of I guess a soundtrack sort of record that I have, the other one being the Star Wars one that I showed you in the last video. But my second soundtrack record is actually from a video game, and those of you who know me know I am obsessed with this video game. It's one of my favorite games of all time. I have the cups right there. I don't know if they're in frame, Cuphead and Mugman, but here it is. It is Cuphead selected tunes from the game, and oh my god, the music in this game, as you can see, it's super like 1930s inspired. It's got super jazzy tunes and like insane solos from like trumpet players and clarinet players. Just some amazing jazz solos on this thing. This whole package is presented just like it came fresh out of the 1930s, just like the game, and I just freaking love. Look at this artwork in here. That's adorable. Look at freaking Mugman, dude. Look how cute he is in that. But man, and this sounds so good on vinyl too, especially. And look at the sleeve here for the record here. Even that's inspired by the 30s. So everything in here is completely authentic to the game and to the style that they were going for, so I especially love this. And just this game, I cannot say enough about this game. Maybe I'll make a separate video about how freaking genius this game is, but Even if you don't play the game, you should give that record a shot, especially if you love jazz music. It's super fun. The next record I have is a complete opposite from the Cuphead record, especially in mood and tone. It is the Daughters album, You Won't Get What You Want. Obviously not a ton of artwork on here, but this face, it should scare you, especially if you've heard this album before. This is one of the scariest albums I've ever heard in my life. This package, the artwork should say it all. Everything is completely black. The vinyl is pitch black. Oh wait, no it's not. I forgot. The actual disc is not black. It is gray. I thought that was pretty cool. It's like cloudy almost. But that also matches the mood because this is one of the darkest albums I have ever heard in my life. It is super creepy, super scary. It is literally an experience. I've never heard a record like this before. And most of the time, if you've heard this album, you know how weird it can get. It's not for everyone. It's super experimental. And normally I don't even listen to music like this very often, but this record captivated me in a way that few other records have, and it's just insane. A huge achievement, a huge work of art. Daughters, awesome band. I'm not even like that into like their other stuff, but this record is something else. And if you are going to listen to this record, do so with headphones and with the lights off because you will have nightmares, I guarantee it. This album is crazy, especially read the lyrics when you're listening to this record if you so dare. But yeah, just an insane work of art this album is. Next up, I'm wearing her shirt right now, and let me tell you a little bit about Billie Eilish. Not only is she obviously one of the most popular artists of this year, she was like the best-selling female artist, but with my personal experience with Billie and her music, I honestly at first didn't like her music, like at all. I liked a couple songs, but other than that, I didn't get it. I didn't get her vocals and how whispery they were. That's when I was a little bit more closed-minded than I am right now. But once I listened to this album the whole way through, like the first time I heard this album, I kind of just went through the songs pretty quickly and just sonically without listening to the lyrics, I just decided what songs I liked. And it was only like a couple. And I just like, my brother was super obsessed with her before I was. And he was just telling me, oh my God, you have to listen to this new Billie Eilish album. It's great. And I honestly didn't get it. But once I took the time to sit down and listen to this album the whole way through from start to finish, reading the lyrics, it completely changed my mind. And now this is one of my favorite records of the year. Obviously, now she's an artist that I love. Obviously, I got the shirt on right now. The aesthetic of this album, the production, Phineas and Billie, once those two are together, they make songs that are so hypnotic and so crisp and clean in their production. It's just... this is a pop record that you will not get often. It's one of those albums that comes out every now and then that explodes. That is really something special. And honestly, this album is deserving of all the hype. Not just the single Bad Guy that blew up, although that is one of my favorite songs on this album. There's so many great songs on this album. Ilo Milo, Bury a Friend, When the Party's Over, All the Good Girls Go to Hell. Like, every song on here is great. Especially, I want to show you something that's really cool. Obviously, this album has a really dark aesthetic. Some of the themes that presented in this album are very dark and very scary. But look at the color of this disc. Tell me that isn't super cool. And look at, I mean, just the contrast from like the album art here. It's like, I don't know why they decided to do that, but it looks amazing. This is one of the coolest looking discs that I have in my collection. Just that freaking, I don't even, it's like yellowish orange. It pops super bright. And I don't know, just this album, it's worth it. If you haven't heard it yet, what are you doing? Like, seriously, listen to it. And the next album we have is Humans by Gorillaz. And a lot of people say this is their least favorite Gorillaz album, but honestly, it's one of my favorite, if not my favorite Gorillaz album. It's the only one I have on vinyl, but I had to pick it up because this track list is huge. There's so many songs on here, so many features. Obviously, it had to come with 2 discs because of that. The artwork in here, it's got all 4 of the members. And I just love like the idea of Gorillaz, like having that cartoonish band. I don't really know of any other bands that do the same thing. I'm sure there are other bands that have like fake like cartoon band members, but really cool artwork in here. Just them like posing like an actual real band, and just a lot of bangers on here. This is like party music but for depressed people, I like to call it. And here's another piece of artwork. I really love that one in particular. But yeah, lots of bangers on here, but it's like, it'll make you think. It's super political, which I like because it's something that Gorillaz hasn't been afraid to shy away from, especially from their album Plastic Beach, which talked a lot about pollution and stuff like that in the earth. And this is no different. This talks a lot about politics and our awful president that we have right now in the United States. So this is a great album in my opinion, and a really awesome Gorillaz album, if not my favorite Gorillaz album. And the next record we have here is one from Arctic Monkeys, and it is called Your Favorite Worst Nightmare. Really love this record. Don't know if I love it as much as AM, which I showed off in the last video, but I can't deny that this album has a ton of energy, super catchy bass lines and hooks. And honestly, this record is so different from AM, it's hard to compare them. They completely switched up their style when they went to AM, but can't lie, I love this record. It has some nice artwork in here, some graffiti style things. A lot of bangers on here, especially the opener, Brainstorm. That song is crazy. Super hectic, super noisy, but I love it. It's an awesome song. Lots of great ones on here. 505 is one of my favorite Arctic Monkey songs of all time, like top 3. So good. But honestly, if you love alternative rock music, listen to this record. And the next record we have is from the one and only Lorde. This is her album Melodrama. A lot better than her debut album, I think, even though I love both albums. This one is a lot better. I can't wait for her to release new music, because if her quality stepped up this much from her first album, I'm especially looking forward to what she has in store next. Super moody, super emotional, but so effective. I don't know why I feel the need to say this, but I'm still a little bit pissed off. This album was like $40 and it's only a single disc and not any artwork besides this. Why was this album $40? Hello? The pressing is not that great. It does sound good on vinyl, don't get me wrong. Obviously, all of these are going to sound great compared to like streaming it, but why was this $40? I'm still a little upset. What the hell, Lorde? And next up, some of you may be judging me for this, but it is Beer Bongs and Bentleys by Post Malone. Say what you will about this record, but it was a behemoth once it dropped. Almost all the songs on this track listing, I think all of them actually, were in like the Billboard Top 100 for weeks, especially the unforgettable Rockstar, which was a huge, huge hit. And I can't deny that song is really good. The production is great. The bars are great. And I think this whole album kind of speaks for itself, honestly. Like, it's pop music and it's sort of hip-hoppy. I don't even know what you would call it. It's sort of, I guess it's mostly hip-hop and there's some rap in there too. But I think Post Malone is not just like your average artist, I feel like. Especially compared to his last album. Like, he really stepped up the quality. And especially, look at the artwork in this thing. Like, the aesthetic that he presented with this whole album. Hold on, I gotta show you some of the more of the artwork. This is one of the main reasons why I bought this album, is actually because of the artwork. Look at that. I love the aesthetic. But like, compared to other pop artists, I think his use of real instruments in a lot of these songs, I mean, a lot of it is electronic, but he uses a lot of real instruments in his songs. And his freaking hooks are undeniably catchy and just unmistakable for any other artist, and I think he is unique in that way. I mean, haters will be quick to dismiss him for being just like any other artist per se, but honestly, I think what Post is doing is unique, and I'm a huge fan of his, and I think this album is his best work so far. I don't think his new album, Hollywood's Bleeding, is better than this album. I think this is still his best work, and just an enjoyable listen all the way through, and I don't have any shame. I do love this album. Next up, we got a record by Interpol called El Pintor, which is an acronym, or not an acronym, an anagram for Interpol. The main draw for this band is their guitars, and it's no different, especially on the opener, All the Rage Back Home. It's my favorite Interpol song. I love the artwork for how simple it is, and the aesthetic of this album is like super dreamlike and spacey almost. And like I said, the guitars on this album are totally unique and something that sets them apart from other bands, and it's a good listen. Next up, we got one of the most iconic bands of all time. Everyone knows who they are. It's the Beatles, and it is not actually one of their original albums. It is a compilation album. It is One. And the reason why I got this compilation album, which, by the way, in case you don't know what One is, it's a compilation of all their songs that hit #1 on the charts. So obviously tons of tracks here because they were a huge band. They still are, but especially when it was their time and they were alive and they were killing the music scene. Awesome freaking artwork in here. Super psychedelic, obviously. I think they have some other artwork in here as well. Okay, yes, they have this. I'm not going to unfold the whole thing, but they have a bunch of... basically, this is a compilation of all of the artwork for all of these singles that are on here, because they have unique artwork for each one of these songs. And I think it has some album arts too. I think Abbey Road is on here. But yeah, I'm not going to unfold it, but I'm sure you get the picture just from what I showed you. But the reason why I got this compilation... Hold on, we got another piece of art in here. Yeah. It came with a bunch of these, which have the original band members on 4 different... mini posters, but I gave some to my friends who like the Beatles more than I do. But the reason why I got a compilation album is because, honestly, I don't like a single Beatles album all the way through, because the thing about the Beatles is they have some amazing and beautifully written songs, but they also have some terrible and ugly songs. I don't know if that's a hot take or not. I don't know if a lot of people agree with that, but some Beatles songs fucking suck. Like, I'm just gonna say that right now. But obviously all the songs on there are freaking amazing. I had to pick it up on vinyl. And yeah, you gotta show respect to the Beatles, regardless of if you love or hate them. Next up, we got one of my favorite newer bands. It is Half Alive, who I saw in concert with a couple of my college friends. And they blew up once they released their song Still Feel, which you probably may have heard on YouTube. They have some cool artwork in here. They have this whole booklet here of, like, first of all, there's all these lyrics, but the aesthetic of this album is like super gorgeous, super retro, super dreamlike, super, it just takes you to another world, especially when you're listening to this from start to finish. The way I can describe their music is just like electronic, poppy, like indie rock, indie pop. And it's like, they will get under your skin, especially if you've listened to the song Still Feel. That is just an iconic song. The artwork is great. They were super fun seeing live. They just make you feel good, like listening to this album from start to finish. And they get some into some deep topics here. And the reason why they're called Half Alive is because I forget what philosopher they based it on, but the reason why they got that name is because the philosopher that they reference talks about how humanity is always being pulled in a state of living and death, and that way all of us who are living on this planet are forever in a state of being half alive, being pulled towards death and being pulled towards positive and good things. So that's why they are called Half Alive, because they were so struck by that statement. And a lot of their songs have to do with that topic of being half alive. So I definitely recommend listening to this album. It's super fun, super lighthearted, and just a fun listen all the way through. The next album we have is from one of my all-time favorite artists. It is Hoodie Allen, who I have been a fan of since middle school, and he just makes just these infectious pop rap songs, and with the catchiest hooks, and they're just, all of his songs are like super fun, super enjoyable to listen to. This album in particular, I think, is his best work, and it just came out, I think, this year. It is Whatever USA, and as you can see in the top corner of this record, we have an autograph from him, because I actually pre-ordered the album, and he has a little signature right there, so I thought that was pretty cool. And yeah, not a ton of artwork on this one, but oh my gosh, you should see the disc for this thing. Look at this. Bam. Check that out. Multicolored. I think at its core, this album is super summery. Like, this is, if you need an album to listen to in the summer, this is my most summery album that I own. So definitely listen to this album if you like pop rap, and you will not regret listening to Hoodie Allen. He's just one of those artists that really cares about his fans. He's an overall great guy, and just a huge fan of his because of that. The next album we have is a little bit controversial, because this is an album that completely changed up this woman's style, but it is Lady Gaga's Joanne. And honestly, my favorite Gaga album. I know, all you Gaga stans can attack me, but honestly, I like when she's doing this style more than stuff on like the records Born This Way and Just Dance. Honestly, this record speaks to me more than all of her other albums. And like, I'm not even a huge fan of country music, and a lot of the music on this album is country inspired. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of pop and some rock in here, but I mean, that should tell you that this album is great quality, especially since this is a genre that I don't listen to very often, but I ended up really loving this album. And like I said, I think it's her best work to date. It's super personal, and just the aesthetic on here is super nice. Some songs will make you want to sway in like the summer breeze, and some are like rock bangers like Perfect Illusion. That song kicks ass, and just honestly a great album. And last but not least, we have the newest record from Harry Styles. It is called Fine Line, and true story, I actually didn't like Harry Styles' last album. I straight up disliked it, except for the amazing single Sign of the Times. That is one of my all-time favorite songs from the year by far, and one of my favorite songs ever, honestly. And this album, I heard it for the first time yesterday as of when I'm recording this. Literally, as soon as I got done hearing it, I had to run out and buy this record. That's how good it is, and I seriously do love this record. Such a huge step up from his last one, honestly. Even though people will defend that album, all the Harry stans and all the One Direction stans will defend that album till death. But honestly, this is such a step up. And look at the artwork in here. I love the aesthetic. Absolutely love it. Even the font has its own aesthetic. Like that, this matches the aesthetic here. It does do a little bit of genre hopping, which can be daunting for some people who are looking for a clean listen all the way through, but you cannot deny that this album is super funky, super catchy. Some of the songs make you want to dance, especially my favorite song on here, Watermelon Sugar. It's not the deepest song ever, it's not the most lyrically complex song ever, but goddamn does that song make me want to dance. And that's all the records we have for today, so thank you all so much for watching. And if you guys want to see this again, like I said, leave a like. I probably will end up doing another one of these because I really enjoy talking about music, and I'm just a total geek when it comes to stuff like this. So thank you all for watching. If you have any records that you want me to listen to, leave them down in the comments below. If you think that I would enjoy it based on what I've just shown you today, yeah, definitely leave a comment down below and I'll probably check it out. But once again, thank you all for watching. Thank you for watching this the whole way through if you did. Especially if you're a music lover like me, you're awesome. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.